Alrighty, so section 2 in CIT48A, and at this point we've started this semester officially. I've met some of you officially, and I look forward to meeting more of you as we go through. So I'm going to release, today is Thursday of week 1, I'm going to release week 2, and my goal is actually to work on week 3 or section 3 to try to have 2 weeks of content rolling forward. So this semester, the thing that's changed, if you heard me say this in the first video for the overview, is I'm moving from your traditional research paper to the using AI to learn something and then present on that. And this week, what you're going to end up doing is creating a presentation. You can use your voice only. You don't have to use your video. If you want to, you can. I'll talk about that in a minute, but you're going to share that, and this is what I want you to get from this part with me, okay? And when you share it with me, I'm going to watch it, and you know, we aren't, because there's more of you than there are of me, we're not going to make them long, but really, and this is what I want you to get from this, it's really, I want you to become conversational. So how do we become conversational with this content? Is we work on it, right? It's like when you're just having a conversation with somebody, we all have experienced that the more knowledgeable we are, the more natural our conversations come out. And that does take time and effort. So, but this first round is really just to say, you know, let's get you recording something about the topic that you researched last week. And I said at the end of that, write a script. Now, you don't have to read that script word for word. If you're more comfortable doing that, make sure you've spent enough time to think about how you would rewrite it, you know, because read it out loud. Because remember, how I'm looking at this is how conversational are you with these topics, okay? Because what we're doing is instead of writing traditional term papers, we're leaning into these AI systems. And part of what you learn as you go through this is how to write prompts. And I gave this analogy to somebody the other day. When Google or search engines first came out, we were all pretty bad at writing search terms or writing queries, we call them. And over time, and Google actually has some data on this, we all became better at it just because we did it. And part of what I want you to get here is just the idea that when you write run prompt and you get some information, then you can go deeper into specific areas so you can get more and more detailed. Doesn't always have to be drilling down. It could be going more broad, but part of this is learning. You don't have to be perfect at it. Trust me, nobody is. That's why prompt engineering right now is such a big thing and a well-paid thing to be able to teach. You can go out to YouTube right now and search on how to write good prompts. I posted an article out on Discord, which, by the way, if you're not on Discord, please consider joining. There's been a good number of you from this class on there. And so, right, the more interactions we all do, right, about kind of what we're learning or questions, and I've already had a couple, which is awesome. So anyway, I guess the point of this beginning discussion is just to kind of set the tone or help you understand what we're doing this week. Now, having said that, it's the last thing we have in this week, okay? So where in week 1, I went too fast. So I may scroll down and we'll talk about the other things. But in this week, right, coming in, it'll be due on Sunday. Now, you're going to end up sharing this with everybody in the class next week. So the sooner you get this done and get my feedback, because the natural question you're going to ask is, am I going to have to re-record it? Well, that depends on what I see, right? I may suggest, there's a chance, I'm just going to tell you this, right, that I'll say, and I'll give you some specific feedback of things I want you to work on and re-record it. By the way, nothing wrong with that, right? Try not to feel bad about that. This is part of how we all learn. Now, let me go back up. So in this week, right, so where last week you had the intro video was the discussion. And remember, discussions in this case are how I do attendance. So when I woke up this morning, Thursday morning, if you had submitted your video for the intro, right, that's what that main post is what is counted. That's how we count, I count attendance for this class. So if you didn't get it, you got a 0 for week 1. And so the same is going to be true for this discussion, not for the video that you're recording at the end of the week, but for the discussion that we're going to have, which is the first thing off the bat. So I've sourced, and I sourced this last semester, and many students said they enjoyed it, which is a video, and we'll just click into this item real quick, and let me drop my video here, right? So, right, here's the idea. Watch the video, right? I don't think it's that long. Let me see. It's 20 minutes. It's actually not that bad. And this, if you've ever seen this guy, he's really, I really enjoy his content. It's a little cheesy sometimes, but I'm okay with a little bit cheesy. But in this case, he really talks about the certificates, right? The certifications that you can get, the roadmap for how to get into cybersecurity. So obviously you're on a roadmap right now. This just kind of validates, I hope, from the outside world and gives you more specifics on what that looks like. So step 1, watch it, right? And then write your thoughts on what was covered in there. So some of you come in with more experience in the industry, so that will be helpful to the folks that don't have that, right? And then at the end, there's a practice exam, right? Take that, right? So discuss your thoughts on it. Take the practice exam. It's okay, right? And then write about that, okay? So now, when we say write about this, I'm not actually being specific in this term of telling you how many words to write, but what I look for in your writing is that it's thoughtful and it's substantive. And I also look for your replies to be thoughtful and substantive, right? Substantive means it's not just, yeah, that's great. You actually need to read their comments and reply, okay? So, and reply, again, in a substantive way. So in this case, this is what I was talking about before, right? This is 70 points. It's just for your posts, right? Step 2. And then 15. And these have to be done by Sunday. So you have a little time. And that's part of why we've structured it this way, is to let students post their content, their writing, so other students have a chance to reply to that. So I hope you enjoy this particular one. Like I said, a lot of students last semester got a lot out of that. So in this week, we also continue the idea of sequential content. Now, I did have a student who posted on Discord that they didn't get past the PDF because you have to view each item. And what I found is if I scrolled through and I ended up downloading it, if for some reason it wouldn't let you through that. So this week, or this section, is all about application software, right? Business productivity software, video. So this is kind of apropos for what we're doing this week too, right? And I'll talk about here in a minute. All right. So anyway, you go through. This is very similar, right? So if you haven't gotten this this setup yet, right? You get the PDF. So first you do the discussion, you review the PDF, you have a video, and then you do the quizzes for that. But the quiz for the PDF is at the end, okay? And then here's the presentation. Will be the last thing you do on Sunday. And again, I recommend doing it sooner than that, because what will happen, and that's okay if you would wait till Sunday to post it. I'm not going to see it till Monday, okay? And then I'm not going to have as much time. So, if you want, better feedback from me, try to do it sooner. And just also for yourself, because sometimes we think, we're procrastinating because we don't want to work on it. But the truth is, I find it still is with me, hanging over my head. And when I get it done, I feel better. Okay, let me scroll back up. Actually, let me scroll here and talk about this real quick. So one thing, I rewrote these instructions. I've already talked about kind of the overview here, right? But you use presentation software, whichever one you want. If you have another one, you can use that one as well. Record your voice, right? Video's not required. You can if you want. That's totally cool. About what you learned from the prompting research you did last week. Okay, again, the script is helpful, and I'll talk about that in a minute, right? But try to keep it relatively short and keep it conversational, right? The idea here is you're just telling me, in this case, what you learned from that research last week. So, right? Again, this is only shared with me this week. Next week, you'll share it with everybody else. There's a chance you will have to re-record it. And I say this, try not to read the script directly. That script was really there to help you organize what you would say, allow it to be your guide, work on being as conversational, I need to change that, as possible, right? And really, and this is what I said, it really comes from working to understand the information you're presenting. That's where you get conversational. And again, you don't have to be perfect at this. It's something you'll work on because you'll end up researching more, going, in more depth or going adjacent to this concept as we move forward. Submit your URL. Now that last week I talked about making sure this is viewable. So hopefully you get that. I did have a little bit of a problem with the school one, but as long as because I think I showed you guys how to share the folder, but I ended up having to share the individual files, which was kind of a pain, and I went and talked, let me just say this so you can see this. I actually went and talked to the campus about this, and I talked about their SharePoint, if you know. So OneDrive, right? Most people know OneDrive. They've heard of Microsoft's, their version of the consumer cloud, but there's also something called SharePoint that we have as an organization. And I told them what I was experiencing, which is, they weren't necessarily being shared correctly. So here's the deal. Whatever one you use, just make sure you do that little trick I showed, which is going into incognito mode and making sure it's viewable. And now part of the reason I'm doing this week is so I can view it. Yes, you could share it with me directly, but that's not the idea. That way we check to make sure your presentation is shared correctly, so when you do it next week you shouldn't have an issue with that. And really it's also about teaching you about how to make sure things are viewable from the web. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you that I don't like SharePoint that much, and I don't like OneDrive that much, but that's okay. To me, Google Drive does this so much better. But I don't try, and there, I think I saw a couple of the students actually use something else, which is totally fine as well. Okay, and this is what I was talking about. All right, the sooner the better. And then, right, have fun. Try to have some fun with this. I did provide 2 additional links at the bottom for how to do voiceover. And so in slides, you actually end up, now the question may be, and I haven't specified this, like how many slides do you need? I don't know. 2 to 3 minutes, I would say no more than a couple. And really you could do it with one, but it also can help you organize your thoughts. So I would say you don't need a lot. 1 or 2 would be fine. So, and in this case, I've given you a video for how to voice over a slide. So what happens, and I think this is also true, I haven't used PowerPoint, but I gave you a link here for doing something similar on PowerPoint, is you basically do it per slide. So you can kind of be the judge. I hate to create hard and fast rules like that. More than anything, I just want to hear you talking about. I want to hear you talking about what the selected topic you had, what you learned from it, right? And remember, we will end up doing this, I think, 3 times where we go through this process. You'll after you share next week, right? In section 3, after you share with the class and look at other people's, you're going to see each other's output, right? Then we'll do another round where we go a little deeper. You'll do another video. So we'll end up, this will be kind of the way this will roll through the semester. Anyway, I hope this helps you understand this week. Do know how I do attendance, right? How the week flows, how this week is different than last week. Get on Discord if you're not already. If you got on Discord but you don't see the class channel, that's because you probably didn't ask me to add you. So just get, hey, ask out on Discord, could you add me into the class chat? Because that is only for students in this particular class. Okay, have a great one, and I'll talk to you soon.